Hey, everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me again. I really appreciate all the positive responses and questions from the first interview that I did with Whitney on base 12 frequency with the Rasha technology. So, thank you for that. My next guest is a very, very important key figure in what I explained on my initial video was that the purpose of this channel was to highlight these Avenger heroes who were part of this whole awakening path. The one who really kicked it off for me was this special woman here, Irina. I worked with her for therapy for a few years, and then we did some coaching. We worked together up until about a year ago. She was very amazing at saying in the very beginning, I don't want you to stay with me your whole life. I want to give you tools. I want to get you where you need to go, teach you, train you. Therapy with her was a lot of crying. I feel so sorry what I put this woman through every time we spoke on the phone. It was just like, I don't think she ever saw me for the first year without any massive stream of tears. But I say that because it takes time, which is something that we'll get into here today. There's something to what she was able to open up. And so I bring her on because having somebody who is experienced, knowledgeable, professional, she is not just secluded to just, how are you doing today? What are you upset about? Let's make you happy. By far, her experience just really it is the thing that was able to handhold me through the entire process. I want to say hello, Irina. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. It's incredible. I believe that you're visiting a family member and you're not in your
Yeah.
local state. You're traveling.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'm not.
Okay.
And thank you so much for having me. 'Cause I
Yes.
love talking to you regardless, but this is
Yes.
even better because maybe we can, can help somebody out there.
I had a friend who was just telling me about this therapist that she was working with, and I have had my fair share of working with therapists. I had a really great one that I worked with in my late 20s. I think we're pretty much right at the cusp of turning 30, and she was great, but that person served that purpose for that time. And what Irina was for my midlife was just exactly what I needed. The universe was like, this is who we need you to be with for this part of your midlife. You know, you're going to be in a few years turning 40. And I really felt like, okay, these soul breadcrumbs are leading me to something that I'm ready to embark on. So she would just tell me things, and I'm like, wow, this lady is not trying to sugarcoat things, but she's also not mean. Like, she's the perfect voice for what you're going through. We had an initial consultation, and we just, we kind of just started getting the ball rolling. I always thought, get married, yay, everything will be perfect. Get the job, everything will be perfect. And I just kept noticing, like, not everything was perfect. The person, the position, where I was at was, but what was here that wasn't balanced? And I feel like what really started with us that you were great at understanding was there was a lot of heavy childhood trauma, but there was a lot of heavy mom trauma. So before we dig into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because this platform is about also creativity, finding that creative spark that takes you from one little thing, whether it's a breadcrumb, a vision, a passion, a love.
Yeah.
I understand that you were first in finance. So why don't you talk about how
Sure.
you made that jump?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a little comment just to piggyback on what you said about
Yeah.
almost turning 40 and just feeling maybe you lost some direction. It's interesting because I think about 80% of my clients, and now I work exclusively with women by choice, they come to me about this crossroad, like midlife. Is it like Dante said, and I'm not quoting him exactly, but it's like he said, like to come to the midpoint of my life, I found myself in a dark forest without a direction. He said it how many years ago? We're still experiencing the same thing. At some point, when we go through all our adolescence crises, through some reintegration during our 20s, maybe 30s, then we say, okay, we've done that, that, and now what? So some people will just don't think about and go on, but some people will stop and say, interesting. I achieved that, but why I'm not in peace? Why I'm not satisfied? So my soul is telling me something else. My brain is telling me you're good. Everything's wonderful in your life, but my soul somehow telling me the different story, what's going on. And that's where we start. And that's actually in the way how I came from finance to therapy. I'm a first generation immigrant. I was fairly early divorced with a young child, and finance, it was just great money, but that was a paycheck. And I felt that for a while my obligation is to provide a certain life for a child and stay in this profession. But my big turning point actually was cancer. I'm not trying to get morbid here, but that was a big thing with me when I kind of start facing mortality, and I was almost 40, close to 40. I didn't think I was dying as though I could have, but there was a switch. Okay, how's my life goes? I go to work, I attend to my family, and I'm just sitting at my job and I'm waiting for my day to be over. And the conversations in the elevator, oh, thank God it's Friday. Oh my God, it's Monday. So life goes between Monday and Friday. Is it the way I want to lead my life? Once again, once I got diagnosis, I went on the search for holistic treatment. I went on some spiritual journey because before I could care less about anything spiritual. I wasn't even involved in anything like that. And just to put another interesting note how universe sometimes align, I think probably few months before I got diagnosed, I was looking some Russian website for some books, and they sent me their own book. Basically, they said, and there was a note saying, yeah, we don't have the book, but this is a book about the same price. So how about we'll send it to you? And that book was by a Russian spiritual healer. Probably, I'm not sure if people from your audience know him, but in Russia, he's pretty big. His name is Lazarev. And there he was talking about the soul. Here he was talking about acceptance of what universe sends you, understanding how everything in life interconnected. And that work was called the diagnostics of karma. And okay, let me just read it on a whim. I don't want to send it back, not a big deal. And it just really opened my eyes. So see how universe sometimes aligns in a weird way. And then my whole other work started. So I got into spiritual healing school. So I did 4 years studying to be a spiritual healer, which I don't practice that much, but that was a great jump start. And then I started seeing, okay, what else I might do in my life, what else that might bring me joy. And then one thing led to another. My daughter graduated. I was able to, and I was going to counseling school. In the meantime, I also was studying astrology for years. So I kind of honestly started counseling school for one big reason. Since I was doing astrology for about 15 years before that, I said, well, if I want to be an astrologer, I will have to have a knowledge of how to talk to people, of people's psyche. So let me start counseling school. At least I will get this knowledge there. And then again, universe aligned in a way that I was able to live finance. I got my license, and the rest is history. So astrology now got on the background, in the back
And
burner.
you
So yeah.
You really, and that's one thing too that I emphasize with people. You can walk through somebody's door, have a seat, or jump on a Zoom with them. I get constant commercials for therapy, and we'll match you with the right person if it's not for you. There is something to that because my soul was working in the background with your soul. I had never been spoken to the way you spoke to me, the way we talked about astrology so delicately. It was an introduction to it, but it was very beautiful to connect to words of the soul, our signs, our strengths, our worries, our doubts. It's not going to be for some people, but for those where it does connect, I mean, there's just something there. And you were just during this initial process shaping so much of who you are today as this full, well-rounded package.
Yeah, you said something about soul. Maybe my soul and your soul at some time have an agreement to come together. That the theory that I'm subscribing to. I think Carolyn Myss writes a lot about soul contracts, but I do believe we connect for a reason. I truly believe that all my clients come to me for a certain reason because they do teach me a lot. It's kind of goes both ways. So, and that's what actually I tell all my new clients. I have a kind of a mandatory free consultation. Why? Because first of all, I want to understand if I feel it in my wheelhouse to help somebody. But also, as equally important, I want a person to look at me and sense, And so I'll tell people, don't think, don't analyze, just feel. If you feel this click, the spark, like you go on a date, and sometimes you can be the best looking guy or girl sitting in front of you, most accomplished, most beautiful, most kind. But there is no spark. Just it may be good as a friend, but it might not be good for you as a partner. Look at the therapist in the same way. Sexual part aside, look at that. Do I have the spiritual spark? Do I feel, oh, she might get me? It's possible that I might relate to her. Then by all means sign up. If you don't get the spark, please interview several people. Actually, that's my recommendation to all people. Please take time. Interview maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people. Just sense. Because I can be Freud and Jung in one.
Yeah.
If you don't have the spark, it will still work, but not at the level that you want it to work. Find somebody reputable, definitely. Find somebody who has a degree, has a good work record, but sense the spark.
I feel like for me, nothing was ever forced or pushed, but you did such a great job of definitely utilizing the time and utilizing what I was telling you and how I showed up when we would get on the phone and talk. You knew that there was something there and just the ways that you delicately worked with me. But I look back and every single time we worked together, it was an introduction to the next door and the next step. And I understand it's about the person, but tell us like the importance of your process, like perfect balance of how to work with your clients. Tell us about that.
If I understand your question correctly, you're saying what happens with people who kind of feel like they're ready, but not quite. They're not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
As long as somebody feels, okay, I will give it a chance. Let me see what happens. And that is so important is to individually work. I don't use like cut and dry, like, boilerplate approach to everybody. Some people might not be ready for a few years. I mean, ready for transformation because transformation is scary. Our ego, and when I'm saying ego, I mean our concept of who we are in this moment fighting. Is fighting transformation because ego wants certainty. Ego doesn't want disintegration. That's our aspect of self. It is not good, it's not bad. It just is. So with some people, it might take a few years. Some people might never go through transformation. It's really honoring where you at in life. It's not about my journey. It's about your journey. You're driving your boat. You're the captain of your boat. Other people who help you along your healing journey are little tugboats. We might say, here's maybe go that direction, maybe that direction. But you ultimately deciding, do I go there or I don't? Do I stay in my boat for a while? Do I stay in my place? Do I speed up? How fast I go? How slow? Or should I go backwards? Or should I stay in one place? It's not my part. It's not my place to tell you, yes, you should be doing that and that and that. My place is to create an environment for you to connect to yourself, to really find in yourself what is working best for me. And yourself knows. It's always there. It's always knows. We just get disconnected, like you mentioned, childhood trauma or adult-like trauma. All children know what they are. It's all in there. Trauma, it's like put layers of disconnection to the self. That's what happens with trauma. It creates doors and doors and doors that get closed and closed and closed because it's too painful to go there. So creating like shields. So all the kind of a therapy that I'm trying to do with people who want to sign up for it is to gently, like peeling these layers of the onions. And sometimes it's much harder. With significant trauma, it can be ironclad doors. Gently opening these doors to reconnect with the self, and the self will know. So my job is to hold somebody's hand and just say, hey, maybe you can turn the key this way. Maybe, maybe not. Just helping them to turn the key, but the key is turned by you, not by me. It's not my job. And I shouldn't be doing that. So that's kind of how I work. I'm just seeing where the person is. And then gently, I'm a big believer of the gentle approach. I love like direct therapy too. Sometimes it's very much in place, but somebody who is highly traumatized, we really don't need that. So with some people, it's really helpful. So very gently saying, once you're ready, let me just hold your hand while you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely my experience with everything. There were some days where you would sprinkle a little bit more of a stronger truth, and it was like, "Oh, this is exactly what I needed." That's the beauty of it. I'll go into AI and trying to find these answers and work through a process like this online, remotely, on your own versus working with a professional. And hey, I use those techniques plenty of times if I'm having a bad day. That's a great little quote that perked up my
Mm.
spirit. That's a nice Carl
Yeah.
Jung, quote that perked me up. There was a lot that started to unravel. There was a lot that I never saw coming. You weren't saying, okay, this is the direction you need to go. You were guiding me, letting me steer the ship, like you said. But something like AI, like there's no connection, there's no understanding, there's no experience. AI can be attached to the therapy databases of the world. You just can't really, in my opinion, find something that replaces the experience of a human who's been through the realms of astrology, who has been in the place themselves of, I'm not where I'm meant to be, and who followed that soul's purpose into the depths of training, research, spirituality. So, this is what I want to highlight with somebody like you. Talked about just kind of like your feeling when you see people on the rise turning to their computers for a full, really in depth diagnosis.
It's a kind of like the same thing. Say we found a spot on our leg, we go to AI, and it will give us some kind of a diagnosis. Can we go by it? No, probably not. If we're conscious, we'll go to the real doctor. But in therapy, it even goes deeper because it's been again proven in multiple research studies. What really contributes to success of therapy? And when I'm saying success of therapy, when a client or patient reaches their goal, I don't know, more internal peace, or finding a better job, or getting married, or getting divorced, or finding my purpose in life. 80% of contribution is a relationship between therapist and a client. It's not the theoretical orientation. It's not, of course, the therapist has to be knowledgeable. That goes, that it's not up to discussion, but what people heal through relationship. When you say something and I see the changes in your face, I see the little movements. Are you getting upset? Or I'm seeing tears. Or are you happy? Or do you really believe what you just said? And AI cannot catch that. This is one level. But another level, how does therapy really begin with a Freudian approach? It's really kind of a restructuring of a relationship between, say, you see a mother in a therapist, or a father, or somebody who was significant in your life, and you see the different reactions. You see interest towards you. You see somebody who is kind, maybe with some boundaries, but somebody who relates to you in different ways, and people help themselves to change or heal through redefining the relationship approach in their lives. And that's what AI, at least at this point, cannot provide. It can provide sometimes pretty good theory. You have to still double check it, because I saw some, and sometimes I go for theory to AI. Say, well, tell me as experienced, I don't know, Freudian therapist, psychoanalytical therapist to another therapist. Give me that diagnosis. Sometimes they might be good source for research. Sometimes you can talk to AI. Some of my clients do that. You might say, okay, talk to me as a compassionate and gentle therapist. Talk to me like, I don't know, Fritz Perl type of direct,
Yeah.
telling the truth therapist. And it might give you some kind of useful information. And maybe it can alleviate even some pain. But take it with a grain of salt. Just use it for what it is, as an information source. Don't let it diagnose you. And know that we do heal through relating, through feeling empathy. So I feel AI cannot feel your feelings. It can make an assessment. Maybe that's what she feels, but it cannot feel. Therapist can feel, and that this person feeling me. He cares. And that's how people grow and heal, through this caring, through this empathy from another human being. That's like a water to the soil. So that's why, at least at this point, AI can't and shouldn't replace a human therapy. But as a research tool, Why the heck not? And again, as like if you double check the sources,
Yeah.
still makes sense to double check.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Definitely. It just breaks my heart seeing headlines where it talks about somebody who took their life because of something that they were informed about. To we get to have an impact with people who cross our platforms. That's my hope with this is to give them something that they were looking for remotely, digitally, and give them a voice, a person, a tool, something to work with that speaks to them. But, yeah, what we can do to really be different and then we apply it with ourselves and then we can apply it to our work environments, whether we work at a traditional 9 to 5 or we're a voice of independence on our own, or if we work with clients for a daily basis like yourself. What you said too about connecting through the screen, seeing the change, I was thinking about it too. I was like, man, there's so many different times where you're like, so let's talk more about that. I see, yes, like do it because I'm just, in whatever
Hmm.
state or mode or topic. We can't let um these, programs, platforms, software, the computer take the replacement, like you said, of empathy and connection and growth. And, you set out on a journey and your journey was helping people and that came from a soul's purpose. It's just a day and night difference. So yeah, I completely agree. So when we worked together, we started for about 2 years doing a lot of house cleaning, a lot of mother daughter childhood trauma. I was about to turn 40. I think I had 6 to 8 months, and we started taking a different approach. I definitely was becoming more aware of like, you're really helping. I'm seeing change. The first year, I think, was all about tears. That just is never going to happen. But okay, you're a nice lady. We'll talk on the phone. But so once we kind of crossed that threshold and we started doing more coaching, which was incredible, you were building this soul playbook, this personal Tracy playbook, and you were making me do little homework assessments of tell me 5 things you're good at. Tell me a nice thing about yourself. What do you love? And I just remember when we hung up and I was sitting there looking at my notebook, I just burst into tears. I could not say anything nice about myself. I had nothing to say that was good. And at that point, all I was seeking was truth and honesty, and so it really hurt. I remember one time a therapist long time ago was like, how do you feel about eating alone? And I burst into tears. What you were doing was introducing something to my soul that was slowly poking at it, saying, hey, I'm being for real this time. You definitely, with this process, and again, we got into astrology and about my sign, and I learned the depths of me, my energy, and it was something that I was ready face and look into. I wasn't in my 20s where it was just like total rage and party and, just making the wrong decisions all the time. There was fears that I was facing that I needed to block out and I was doing that, with other things. But what exactly was happening by you introducing these words to me coming from me, by you introducing this playbook of where do you truly want to go? I give an example of you were like, "What's a fantasy of yours?" I was like, "Oh, vacationing with my husband." And you gave me an example that was a sexual fantasy that a female could easily have. And I was like, that wouldn't have come to my mind. And now, like, I find myself in the depths of research and reading books connected to the sacred feminine, sacred sexuality, like all the things that were told to us that were just so bad and horrible and women are dirty and all these things we could easily get into in another episode just with that topic alone.
Yeah.
But what were these words? What was this process doing to me that was just really knocking on this door of, hey, the real change is ready. She's ready.
The thing your system was ready. Usually the change happens when you're ready, the soil has been tilted, there is a seed has been planted. What happens? A little water is added. That's a therapy or coaching. And then little water and maybe little plant food added, and then you sprout it. But interesting, you mentioned Playbook. That's more of a finance background. Came helpful because I was working in finance. I was managing actually teams of people for pricing, financial analysis, and the playbook. Actually, each company had certain playbook. My group also had a playbook, which said who we are, what's our mission statement, where are we going, where we want to end up, why are we even here. So what's our daily routine, what are our daily processes, and what is the final goal for our group or for our company. So if we look, each of us is a CEO of our own company. You have a Tracy Inc., I have Irina Inc. Why don't we approach our lives and we approach business conscientiously? Here's our values. That's our mission statement. That's why in this life. That's what guiding us. Our values, mission statement. This is our daily processes. It means here I am, like saying my daily processes. I'm doing therapy and coaching because I'm trying to help spiritual women to live their authentic, peaceful, and beautiful life in the way they want to live. And what is my final goal? I'm fulfilling my purpose in life because I feel that my purpose in this lifetime, one of my big purposes, is to help people. Selflessly help people. Pisces North Node. Okay. And I think it's so helpful for people to have structure. So that's why I created this playbook. And now, actually, to speak of now, this program has grown. It now has many, many steps, including physical health. It goes through the body, soul, emotions, heart, all the way to fulfilling your spiritual mission and to the oneness with the universe. And it shows women step by step how to connect to real self, and through connection with real self, through the love for the real self, understanding love, connect with everybody else and everything else on this planet, and to feel this peace and contentment from understanding interconnectedness. But yeah, so, and that interesting you said about sexual stuff. What I think it's important, lots of people are trying to lie to themselves. Why? Not because they mean to themselves, like, I want to lie to myself, I want to set myself up. No. Sometimes it's very hard to face the truth. Sometimes, or we're brainwashed by society. Or we have some families, I don't want to call it misconception, but some family programming. Like, I was raised very strictly. Sexually, I was told if you lose your virginity, by the time you get married, you lost woman. That's it. Nobody, you will be dirty, nobody will want you. That's how my family raised me. Did I believe it? 100%. But it's not just about sexuality. It's about what's important, to see who am I really, not what I think I should be, not with my persona, not the mask I want to put on myself, not what society tell me I should be, not even what my parents, or my husband, or my children, or my friends tell me what I should be. At least to connect from the bottom of my heart. If there is no societal expectation, that's why. And I know you probably went through that. That's why I give this big question. If there was no morality, there is no societal expectations. There are no expectations of self. From the bottom of your heart, how do you see your ideal day? How do you see ideal life? How do you see yourself in a relationship? It doesn't mean we have to break all the structures and just implement it right now. What's important is to really know, oh, that's what my soul wants, at least at this point. And from that point on, we can create a structures that is adaptable to our lifestyle, to the way we want to be also. Because say if I say, okay, I want to go on a, I don't know, shoplifting spree and get all these diamonds. Well, I want diamonds, but my value is honesty. So yeah, you know what? I really need something wild, something a little bit breaking the societal structures. But my value is honesty, so I'm not going on shoplifting spree. But maybe I'll bring some other excitement in my life, and I really like those diamonds, so I need to work more, or whichever, find some way to buy them for myself. That's what I really need. So maybe going to become a CEO and work 24 hours a day. It's not something I need for myself. I need a job to survive, but I really value my downtime, no matter what society said who you should be. From that point on, we're really connecting, and then we say, okay, what can I implement in my life? What I can't maybe implement, the reality check. And at what point I'm ready to change my life or not change it. But the honesty, that's when people's soul hurt, when they're lying to themselves, when they living in a mask. Because imagine living in any kind of mask, it hurts. Your face wants to expand, wants to take it off, but it hurts. When it takes the mask off, might not sometimes like what we see. And that's okay. That's a whole different story. But this is me. How can I learn, whatever it is me, how can I learn to laugh? And that's a whole different journey. Now, when I know what is who am I, what is me, how can I now learn to laugh? And living that me doesn't mean I'm perfect, I'm better than everybody else. There is nothing I need to change. No, it's seeing yourself clearly, but with love. And the last thing I say about what I love about how my daughter a long time ago told me about our family dog. I don't like Max, but I love him. So here, sometimes we might not even like ourselves, which is okay. What to say? Okay, maybe there is some qualities. That's what I want, but I'm not getting there because I don't have that. How can I very gently and lovingly help myself to align, to adjust if I can adjust something, but with love, loving myself unconditionally? That's the journey. That's a self-love and self-compassion, the foundation of the house. And from that point on, we're building the house by adjusting or realigning or remodeling the rooms, which is aligning or changing or transforming some of the qualities we have in ourselves. Does it
Yeah.
make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And with therapy, I just wanted to be happy and I was fine liking myself. I just needed to be happy because of course happy means we can relax and we're okay. I never knew that you were going to teach me how to begin the process of loving myself. And I see now the importance of that alchemical change for a human to go through and to experience. And that beautifully said, is how you start tapping on that door and you're awakening that soul and you're planting the seed and you're giving it the plant food. That makes so much sense. So then I'm like, okay, things are going great. You're so amazing. Everything's working awesome. This coaching was life changing. I'm actually doing some jogging. I'm going to turn 40. I want to lose little bit of weight. I think I'm going to start looking for a different career path. We worked on that together. And then all of a sudden, the dark night of the soul happened. I didn't talk to you for about 2 months. It was during the holidays, which is when my birthday was. Everything was pouring out of my system. I was going through what felt like the darkest, deepest depression. These feelings, these anxieties were just pouring out of me. My stomach was a mess for weeks. I was like, she is going to be like, what is wrong with you? Like, what happened to you? We were in such a good place. So I bravely put together an email for you in the middle of the night because I don't know who else to tell what's happening. So we got on the phone and we got together and you explained everything that was happening to me. I bought some ashwagandha pills and I got on the phone with you. Talked about when that soul is ready for a big alchemical change. What is this dark night of the soul process?
I will start with alchemy since you mentioned it. How alchemical, and that's what happens to us when we go and say, I want to understand who I am. And then maybe I want some change in my life. There is always either alchemically we take a substance, right? And we need to transform the substance into something else. And, well, chemically into gold, but say it's a gold connecting to self. Let's call it gold. First thing what happens, disintegration. Before something transforms into another something else, it needs to come apart. And that's where therapy comes through when, like, oh, my old structures are not working. But before I create new structures, I cannot create new structures on top of the old structures. Even like in the Bible said, you cannot pour the new wine into the old, whichever you call it, in the old containers. You can't because it will be contaminated. So first you have to clean up containers, then they pour the new wine. In the alchemy of soul, your old structures first has to disintegrate. And very helpful, just as a side note, in tarot, there is a card which called Tower. That's what it feels like. Like everything, the crown, ego, is falling apart. The king is falling. So your ego disintegrates. Not in a way disintegrates, feel, ooh, I'm not the only one. I'm not the king here anymore. And that is painful. And before we go into the whiteness, which is a one part before, but whiteness, it's more finding more peace. And then we have some red stuff and we added the reality and only then we go to transformation. But in any case, what happens after disintegration? We have tarot card, tower, blackness, darkness, nothing. Then the darkness starts because my old structures not working for me anymore, but my new structures are not here. So we stay in the liminal liminal, limbo space. That's what Dante described when he said, I entered the dark forest and I lost my way. And that is such a natural state called nigretta in alchemy, or speaking dark night from a soul, coming actually from a book of John of the Cross, who, and that I want to say a little bit about that because it might be helpful to people. He was a monk, was imprisoned, and I don't remember why, but he was living for many, many years in a tiny, tiny dark cell, always looking up because there was a ray of sun. One ray of sun that is coming through his window. And that became his guiding light. He knew, so, okay, I'm surviving. I'm looking at this ray of sun because it comes for me every day. That became his anchor. But his book actually was written to spiritual contemplatives who lost the faith in God for a while. So he was saying, you're dark of the soul when you cannot believe in what you used to believe, but you're not believing yet. Or you lost your faith for some reason. So now you're faithless. You don't have any anchor. You don't have anything to hold on to. So you're coming through this darkness. But just know you cannot rush it. You cannot hold on to it either. Just go through that. And the face, like this shiny light of the sun, will come into your life. Even if we put religious, allusions aside, this God, believing in God, is believing in self. Believing of this final integration with self, which is our goal. That is the goal, alchemical goal we're searching for. It's a prerequisite. The real integration cannot happen without the darkness. It's just a part of it. Because after our old structures disintegrate, the new ones, they just cannot come up immediately. And darkness also comes. What is darkness? I'm not knowing where I am. I'm in this liminal space and I am not seeing the direction. Cannot turn back because I'm not seeing the direction there either. I'm like completely lost. And it's hard for our psyche, it's hard for our system to stay with uncertainty because we are as creatures of survival. We're wired for certainty. Even if we don't like this certainty, we're wired for that. It's like the example that I love to give, why lots of people, when the structures start to disintegrate, that's people go into the dark night of the soul, this darkness, nigretta. That's why lots of people lead therapy, why it becomes so painful, so easier to go to the old structures if they can. So it means like somebody living in the old, dark, dingy cave. And they don't like it. They really want to get out. And they think the beautiful forest out there. But how we survive as a species? Say, we know we don't like this cave. It's pretty nasty. But we lived there all our lives. We know we survived it. We know it's safe for our body. Because our system doesn't care about our spiritual growth. It cares about physical, and I'm talking about the limbic system, about how we structure it physically. It cares about our survival. So, okay, that forest is beautiful, but I haven't been there. I don't know if I'll survive it. And this transition to the forest and initial entering in the forest is so scary because we're willing to take the chance of maybe not surviving the forest. We don't know because we've never been there. So that is the most difficult phase. The next difficult phase comes when the reality set in, which called like the redness in alchemy, but that's a whole different story. But if you get there, it means you're really good. You're getting your gold. But that's where lots of people come back to the cave when this transition from the cave to the beautiful forest becomes too scary and too painful because it's uncertain.
Can't stress enough for people to work with somebody who's experienced to guide you through something like this, and not just take medication that's going to suppress what you're experiencing and what you're going through. You were saying we're animalistic people, we're humans, we're connected to nature. Suppressing, sure, we have to, but to do that when your body, your system is trying to do something that we naturally used to do years and thousands and hundreds of years ago, the soul knew. It was like, follow her guidance through this, and we got back together. Then I started feeling like my old self again, like, great, I got out of that, thankfully. I lived, I survived. I survived. And so we
That's the
connected
way to
and
put it, survived.
yeah, wow. Okay, I did it. And, it was such a great place, and I was starting to feel good, and I busted out that playbook that we had worked on together, and I was like, "Okay." So I understood why I had to get that because now my confidence has definitely peaked more. I'm seeking more, and I naturally started craving these different and you introduced me to Clarissa, Estes, Piacola Estes, and I was just blown away by her
Yeah.
words. That's why when you're ready for things, that's when they're available to you. I wasn't ready for any of that when I first met you. I was ready for it now. I was ready for that kind of connection. And so the soul didn't stop there. We were kind of talking to each other like every couple of months at that point. And then I did some healing with a medium, not that had to do with me, but something I was dealing with my mom. So I started working with her, and then I found Whitney who did the base 12 therapy, Rasha sessions, and through all of those things, like then the great, beautiful awakening happened. And I remember once again, I was like, what is going on? I couldn't stop laughing. I was just in so much love with myself. I felt like a child, like people who used to upset me and enrage me or faces on online or different topics of politics was just like, get out. You don't mean a single thing to me. And so what do? I get back on with you and I'm just like, okay, now what's happening? You're like that you're in the height of the awakening. You're experiencing a very childlike nature. It doesn't last, so enjoy it. But so then talk to me, like how does the soul go from I think I'm dying, I'm this man in this dark cage, but clearly the sun was there growing me what the sun does and nurturing me and myself too, not giving up and continuing to go, and you kind of taking off my training wheels after that. But then what happened? How did we go to such a jump to such a beautiful awakening?
Here is an analogy, like I said, dark night of the soul. And people saying that it gets darker before the sunrise. So what sunrise is? Really, when we see the sun, it's so wonderful, we're staring at it. So this period of, oh my God, everything in life is not that serious. Everything is just beautiful. I'm floating. This is healing. We're going back to our childhood natural state. And there is a part which I love, the type of therapy which called inner child work, because there we do lots of reparenting. So the big part of it, we reconnecting to this innocent, spontaneous child who is spontaneously replying to life. Everything is for to healthy child. Everything is fine unless they hurt. The only time child get upset when they hungry, when they're hurting, when their tummy hurting, natural reactions. But otherwise, if they're healthy, they play, they do their things, they laugh. You know how children giggle all the time. That's the thing we're getting in. In alchemy, that's the part which called whiteness. Everything feels, oh my God, everything is so awesome. But and this is an integral part of healing. Because how do we heal? We reconnect to the spontaneous child. But then child needs to grow up. But grow up in a healthy, adaptive, aligned way. So there
An
we are,
honest
little
way.
honest by knowing, being supported by himself, being loved, admired, but yet guided and directed. So it's a kind of a reparenting ourselves, we're becoming the ideal parent.
Yeah.
So that child, and this is a beautiful stage. We part of it. If it stays with us, nothing wrong with it. It's actually beautiful. What I would recommend to people in that stage is to connect to a tarot card which called Fool, because that is a child. It's a trust, because it's also what it is. It's a trust in the universe, and that part can stay with us, because absolutely we need trust in the universe, but also we have to do our part. We cannot blindly jump over the cliff like on the Fool card. He's not blind, because it's a little different. He knows, he has a complete trust in the universe. And again, I'm not trying to be metaphysical. Yeah, if you have the 100% trust in the universe, you can probably jump over the cliff. How maybe 2 or 3% of people, not
Yeah.
2 or 3 people in the world can do that. No, we still have our human mind who puts different restrictions on us. So I would say enjoy this child part. It's like seeing the sun coming up, and it's beautiful, it's lovely. But then we stay in that stage for too long, we can burn ourselves. So then the red part comes in. If we're going alchemical around, when we sprinkling, adding some reality, some difficult reality of life. That's how children grow up. Being so in then we're adjusting to whatever the reality of life is, our newfound joy of life. Because the reality of life doesn't have to take away the joy of life, because they are not counterindicated. So the point is, how can we take this joy, childlike trust in the kindness of the universe? And I'm talking about the healthy child development who is loved and supported by their parents. How can we take that, but then grow into, say, maybe 10, 9-year-old who start and you only have to go to school because there are some requirements in life. Well, then you have to get a job. Then you know you cannot maybe come and like slap your father in the face or whatever because there are
Yeah.
some societal restrictions and we don't hurt other people. So we're getting some boundaries around us, but in a loving and kind way. And that's healing.
Yeah.
Does it make sense to you? But this is
Yeah.
we can take the joy, we can take the laughter with us and keep it for the rest of our life, because that is a beautiful part of the original spontaneous child.
Yeah, and that's a great way to explain it too. There were still things around me that were happening that I would allow to take me down. I knew how I knew how to connect to them. I knew how to understand them and have compassion for them, figure out what lesson, what role they play in my life, and now I can manage them. And that's connecting with that inner child, which we did. That was definitely part of this work that we did. Again, I could have you on where we just talk about these single topics on their own, an hour for inner child, because the knowledge of your expertise working with such a traumatic part of our nervous system, and really hand holding through the process, but getting it to a place that it needs to be. And this isn't just a quick fix. This isn't something that I will be going back to in years to come. I keep telling, myself, or I tell my husband, this is part of the journey of leaving the old that has been shed forever. Whereas, in the past and in before, I'm like, how did I get here again? How did I circle back? But this true alchemical change just really connects to you and lets you know this work you're doing is not something that's simple. You're facing very deep and dark emotions, but they will be left behind. But like anything, I still have to walk if I want to keep my health good. Same with this. It's not a chore anymore. It's something I look forward to. And I've weeded out a lot of things in life so that I could make room for this, because I understand what is at risk of losing that balance, and it's not worth it. So you brought up tarot, which I've come to have such a deep love for messages and connecting. For people who aren't too familiar, tell us a little bit about it and how you work and incorporate it.
It used to be used as a divination tool. Many people will put a spread, say, oh, you're going to meet a tall, dark stranger, which can be used for that. I use tarot more like a projective testing tool. How does it work? I will pull up a card, say the tower that I mentioned. So, and I ask the person, what do you see? Our unconsciousness already has an answer. It knows what we need to know. Sometimes that my ego or whatever, our mental preconceptions blocks it. Tarot helps sometimes connect to that part of unconsciousness. The unconscious likes to speak in metaphors. It's like to speak in images. So, see that. So maybe you're going, so tell me more about it. What does it mean to you? Or sometimes I use it just maybe like a little quick divination tool. Also say, well, maybe these are the periods of your life that we might be going through. Maybe something to pay attention to. But to me, it's a great guide of connecting us with our messages from our unconsciousness.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's a good metaphorical tool. Like I'm saying, okay, you're going through the dark night of the soul. Here is your tower. There is another tarot card, which is, I think it's like 10 of swords or 9 of swords, which shows people in extreme distress. So it may be sometimes it's even like you, but also what it does, it reads our energy. So it might be helpful tool for people say, what do I feel right now? What might be my guidance? Just pick a card. Take it with a grain of salt, of course. But usually it might align with what you're feeling. Why? Because it's a energy connection.
Very much so. I'll pull it and I'm like, I know what this means. I know I'm supposed to work on this. And I see
Mm-hmm.
now, I told myself, no, that wasn't me. Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is the lesson.
Yeah, and there is no such thing as like doom and gloom, people seeing car death, saying, oh, am I going to die? No, it means a transformation. It means you're going through some significant transformation, some old structures are dying. Has nothing to do. So if you see in a tower, that's my life has to fall up is everything. No, it can be internal, but definitely showing some internal transformation or removing of those structures, but might has nothing to do with external. It might, but it absolutely doesn't have to. It's more
Yeah.
like a spiritual tool. So that's how I use tarot.
At the like end of last year, towards like the last quarter of the year, like for like a couple of moon cycles, I kept pulling the devil card and I would, talk to myself in my dreams before I would go to bed and I'm like, show me this, show me this. Like, no, it has nothing to do with
Yeah.
some devil chasing me or tormenting me. The devil were the things that I was not letting go of. And when I
Yeah.
truly studied that card, I was the one holding the chain. I was the one holding, the tight cuffs around my hands, not
Yeah.
him. Yeah, I was blaming him or blaming, whoever it was, but yeah, and so it's such a beautiful exchange like you said of energy like what I got when I was reading that and I truly asked, show me in my dream and I had
Mhm.
this dream of this man had me kidnapped, but I never had chains around me. I was free to go anytime, but there I
Mhm.
was stuck by his side. And it was like I had to identify things that I was allowing to hold me captive that were not. But in my mind, I had painted the picture that it did. It's a very beautiful and truthful connection. So I love that you do that. We're gonna go ahead and start wrapping up for today. Beautiful. It's around 2:22 p.m.
Sure.
Love
Oh,
these
nice.
numbers. Yeah, very.
Numbers of stability. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, as we start to wrap up, why don't you tell us a little bit about how people can work with you if they're interested in working with you? Can you work with people outside of your
As a
state?
coach,
Okay.
as a therapist, I
Okay.
can only work with people from Texas and I
Okay.
do take insurance.
Okay.
But
Beautiful.
unfortunately,
Okay.
it's only applies to, unfortunately, because I know there are constraints of the cost, it's only
Okay.
applies to the people from Texas. I
Okay.
cannot do therapy with people outside of Texas, but I can do structured coaching program. And now actually this coaching program grew from what we did. Now it includes some body connection approaches. It includes inner child work. It includes connection and processing of your emotions. So basically we're going from the bottom down. We're learning self-compassion, connecting with the body. Then we gain understanding of our emotions, our soul, our heart, and then our spirit purposes, our values, and then we're connecting to the self. And I am also applying some Kabbalistic tools, some astrological tools, because we're looking, integrating it with the chart, which is kind of a blueprint of our soul. And this is a pretty structured program, so people who want either people from Texas who don't want therapy, who want coaching can do that, or people from all over the world can do coaching. And the best way to connect with me is through my you can put my phone number in there. It's on my website, which I will give you. And it has a description of my therapeutic approach. It has description of my coaching program. It's short version. There is a longer version, but that in the individual basis, if people want to go into really in depth, we can go longer. But coaching program is pretty structured.
And I'll have everything linked down below for
Mhm.
everybody to be able to access all of your information. For those who are in Texas, do you still do a like connection call with them?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They can sign up. Actually, there is a link on my website
Okay.
which goes to the scheduling program. So they can go ahead, pick a time, sign up for the call. And I do with everybody about 20 minutes free video call. So they can see who I am. I can see who they are. Absolutely. That's kind of a prerequisite for all my new clients, basically for my sake. So I will not work with somebody who I feel it's outside of my wheelhouse. But like I said, for people to see if they want to work with me as a sense
Beautiful.
there is.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And I highly encourage and recommend that you do that. Anybody who's thinking about it, clearly you have a view into her world, what she does. Looking back on the process is just like this platform again, going back to soul breadcrumbs, meeting the right people. It was something that the friend told me and shared with me that she connected with Irina about. And that's what I want this to be. Let it be something that you're like, I haven't heard somebody explain this before. I didn't know they would talk about astrology and therapy. I love astrology, or I've been looking up coaching. Before we got together, I had done one of these, you go girl websites where it's all about women's networking and we help women get together. And I was really on the hunt for some coaching. So I paid an amount to have 3 coaching calls with this one platform, but there are just some places and people that are not a fit for you. They were just like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm on the call for you to guide me and coach me." And she's like, "Well, where do you think it's going to go?" And what? And I was just like, "I am
Mhm.
lost. Is this what coaching is?" Thank you. It's not for me. Meeting you was like, this is coaching. This is what true soul coaching is. It had nothing to do with just getting into a high paid 9 to 5. It had nothing to do with just getting me a job where I made bonuses for a living and had a company car. You definitely, if you are looking, anybody who's watching this is looking for change or just knowing that I'm not happy and I want to be, it could be as simple as that. Start with a really good person. If you're in Texas, get on this call. If you're not, I encourage you to work with her through coaching. Do you still have a newsletter where you send out to people, or do you have resources where they can
No,
see like the
people can sign up on my website.
okay,
Yeah, there is a link.
okay,
Actually, there is a free resource which is pretty cool. It's kind of a showing are you living in your true self. So people can answer some questions. And that's kind of no, okay. Do I need Irina? Maybe I don't need Irina. Maybe I'm doing pretty good. And once they enter the email, it just comes into my mailing list, and this way we connect.
beautiful, beautiful. I want the masses to connect with you because, again, it definitely during this, awakening process was about helping people connecting to creativity. I mean, creativity was coming in to my dreams, forcing me, like, you come on. But then I sit and I look back and I realize what I would talk to you about, what I would say in affirmations. And it was like, I want to grow, I want to do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that it's not that there was some force that's forcing me to do things I don't want to do. These were all things that I was asking that I wanted to truly do, and it became a challenge with myself. I cannot thank you enough for today for joining me. I would love to have you back. Like I said, easily any one of these topics or any topic. The childhood trauma topic is definitely a favorite of growing up. It was like childhood trauma, like grow up, deal with it. And what you worked with me on is just like, no, pause, hold right there. Like this is real work and this is the reward for doing it.
Absolutely. And thank you, Tracy, for inviting me. It's always a pleasure. Such a beautiful soul, so it's a pleasure for me to talk to you. And by all means, I love to spread awareness because honestly, that's one last thing I want to say because absolutely not everybody can even afford this therapy. There is so many restrictions. That is a whole different story. But even if somebody hears one thing, one little thing that helps them out, I feel like my mission partially will be done. So spreading the awareness is absolutely my purpose in life. So if you want to invite me back, I'm game. I'm here.
Yeah.
Just let
Yeah.
me know.
Love it. Love it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy the rest
Okay.
of your time in New York and
Thank you.
hopefully everybody enjoyed this and I have another one in the works as well and just going to keep this going organically. I'll have my information to my Instagram too, so just stick around for some really awesome and amazing people who are very transformative, and it's time to just help give them platforms and help people grow, find the creative vision no matter what it is, let it lead to another vision and so forth. Thank you. Well, I'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.